the EOSR,
Yeah.
but it's really
It's expensive, but it's really nice. I'll get one as well.
Let me just adjust my levels here. All right, let's start off with your name and what you ate for breakfast.
My name is Mo Black. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, but I'm about to go get that right now.
My name is Omar Garachi, and this morning I ate a bowl of goldfish, so.
That's it?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that much. So we were talking about, you were saying that you spoke at the graduating class. Was that last year?
This past,
okay.
2 months ago. Yeah.
2 months ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me what you were going with that.
Yeah. So South Lakes High School invited me to come speak to the graduating class of 2019. One thing that I did notice was that it was Nabra Hassanen's graduating class as well. So I did touch on her and speak about the situation that happened in the past. The reactions were really good. It was a really great opportunity, but I did notice that as soon as we stopped speaking and we got out and we spoke to some of the students, the ones that were very emotional about it, and it really showed that the cuts are still there, the pain is still there, nothing has moved, where the people who knew her, who were there that night, and who were a part of this community out here in Cedar Ridge, nothing has changed at all.
So the people who were there that night with her, walking back from the McDonald's?
Yes.
I know that they've sort of stayed out of the spotlight for a variety of reasons. How are they doing? I imagine that's an awful thing to have to live with.
There have been a couple of events after her vigil in memory of her, and I spoke at this one event this past April with my friend Omar here, and when I spoke, you could see a lot of people who were just cut really deep, and we had to take a pause for some people who just couldn't contain the emotions that were there. The people who were there that night, yes, they have stayed out of the spotlight, and I did see some of them there at the graduating class speech. And when I spoke to one of them, it just really hit home, and they were really overwhelmed by emotion. So some of them had to step out of their classes.
Do they feel a little bit guilty?
I wouldn't. I'm sure they do. I don't think anyone feels it more than they do, but I can't speak for them on their feelings.
What about you, Omar?
Continuing on with what Mo was saying, I feel like that, many of these kids are still affected by it. But even now, with all these people that are starting to move, I guess, away from it, and it's starting to simmer down, it makes it even harder for them to actually, I guess, express how they're feeling and whatnot. So I feel like we need to actually, even before moving away, we need to still address how a lot of those people are still feeling in the community. So.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of talk about, right after it happened, whether or not it was a hate crime. And I know her family still strongly believes that it was, despite the police and the authorities saying there's no evidence otherwise. What would you say you guys are hearing from people that you know? Or is there still that really deep-rooted belief that it was?
I still hear that, but personally, at the end of the day, I feel like just labeling things as a hate crime, it only divides us more, which is the last thing we want. But just the fact that one person is, killing another, that's something that needs to be stopped. But the whole hate crime stigma around it, I feel like it doesn't help the situation at all. So.
Yeah, I personally, it doesn't invalidate their feelings for feeling that it is a hate crime, but I personally don't feel like it was a hate crime. I just feel like the dude just did it just to do it.
And from what I understand from the Hassanen's lawyer, they are going to have a chance to actually talk to him and question him and ask him why he did what he did. You know, if you had a chance to talk to him, what would you say or ask him?
I probably wouldn't want to talk to him.
Why is that?
I did read about the situation described on how the night went, how it went down to her rape and everything that happened and everything that was involved with that. It's just very clear that none of it. I did read that he was young and then he grew up around some type of mind that caused him to have mental disorders that were based on impulse. But the choice he made, he had every opportunity to step away from the situation, stop what he was doing or whatnot. But he did what he did. He hurt Nabra, he raped her, and he could have stopped at any time, and he didn't. So I don't have any questions for him because it's very clear that this was a choice. This was all a choice. So I don't think there's anything that could be asked, and there's nothing that he could say that would validate what he did or justify it.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like any answer that he'd give us, I feel like it doesn't, or any answer to any question that we, I don't know, ask him, it's not going to change the situation at all. So I feel like asking him would be pointless.
But for, I guess, her family, it's more
For
of
a family,
sense of closure for them to be able to ask.
even then, I mean, especially at like the court date, the first time we went, just for them to be around the guy, it was something very difficult. So even I just don't know how they'd be able to, I guess, go and talk to them. It's going to take a lot of strength and patience, but I'm sure they'll have it once the time comes.
I don't think that the questioning will validate it, but I feel like they will be able to express how they felt more personally versus asking them a question. I feel like them expressing themselves would do them a lot more justice than them asking why they did it, because there's no explanation for it.
I remember reading some of the court documents, and they were very gruesome and hard to stomach. You know, reading that about your friend and knowing everything that happened, how has that changed you as a person?
Personally, it's really influenced me to do better with the time that I have, and made me realize that time is limited. No matter what, anything could happen. No matter what, how I go about my life and what I get accomplished all depends on me. It did also give me a better perspective on what women have to deal with. So it's inspired me to treat women a lot more better and see the types of perspective, especially at the time we live in, when a lot of people are trying to invalidate, feminism and everything that surrounds that. I feel like situations like these really show that, women aren't treated fairly. It's really given me a deeper understanding of that, and it's really inspired me to try better. Not from a perspective of, I'm above women or anything, but as a perspective of, respecting what they deal with and trying to be better as a man in this world.
I mean, even as I said in the visual, after her death, it's time for us to, live for her and, not just remember her death. So, every day it's just a new day that we can, I guess, go on and, as Mohammed said, better ourselves. But I mean, I'm still kind of in awe because of everything that happened. Like it doesn't feel real even to this day, and it's been like 2 years now. But like even I'll be at home now when I come back on break, and it's like I hear my sister saying, "Oh, I'm going out." I freak out a little bit, and it's like, okay, I need you to call me, I need you to text me, I need to know where you are. And before I wouldn't be as, I guess, meticulous about such things. But it's just a different way, I guess, I have to view life now. So. But I don't know, and even like my whole life is kind of just it still feels flipped over, and it's like we're still all just trying to flip it back into how it's supposed to be. But it's like I don't know if it'll ever, I guess, flip back into its normal axis. So, but I don't really know if it should be at the end of the day. It's like words. I mean, words themselves aren't even enough to actually, I guess, dwell on what's happened or what will happen after all this. But I mean, there's not really any stopping. We just have to, I guess, push not only for ourselves but for her. So.
Do you feel like your parents have gotten a little bit more protective over you or your siblings afterwards? There was so many articles about the lost innocence of going out to eat for suhoor during Ramadan. But beyond that, do you feel like maybe your parents check up on you more often? I mean, you're away at school, and it's a totally different thing now. How do you guys think that that's changed that dynamic?
Not much for me, but I've always been protective over my little sister. But it's like this situation definitely has made me check up on my sister more, especially when she's saying that she's gonna go to New York or something a little bit more further. But I don't. It's made me more aware, but I don't act on it to the point where it's very restrictive for my sister. But I do check up on her, make sure that she's a lot more all right, more.
Yeah, we'll triple check on her safety.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end of the day, no matter how protective we are over, I guess, our siblings or other friends or even our parents being protective over us, at some point they can't just keep us in, I guess, a little bubble or container. Otherwise, we don't really get anything out of life, and that's really what we don't want to do. I mean, that's like us losing, I guess, the fight against everything that's happened. And if anything, it should, I guess, encourage us to even, go out and do more with our lives. And our parents, or even us, just telling our younger siblings to just stay at home all day, it's not gonna cut it.
Mm-hmm. How's it been living here at Cedar Ridge, where her younger sisters go out to play and ride their bikes, and you might see your parents? How has that been?
Personally, I see them a lot more often, but it's very hard to talk to them. Although they're you can see them happy. Like I've seen her father, but it's like it kind of makes me scared to approach them because I know everything that's happened. So it's not like walking up to a regular individual. It's just like it really pains me. So it's like I find myself, if I see them, I find myself kind of hiding or trying to pull myself away. Only because it's a very emotional interaction. Even though they may be having a great day doing whatever they're doing, I do see her sisters, and I do see her father a lot.
Do you feel like the dynamic here has changed a bit? Having such a high-profile killing affect somebody who lived here. We're kind of in suburbia right now. There's a lot of people who say that these things don't happen here. Do you think that that's changed a little bit here? The community's gotten more tight-knit, or less so, or?
Immediately after it happened, there was like a very strong sense of people who were saying that we should have more self-defense classes, a whole bunch of things for this one event. But I don't think it's really affected, because this never normally happens around here. Something like that. You do hear about killings, you do hear about things here and there, but it's never been this big of a blow, especially to the Muslim community out here. So this is something very fresh, something very new. So I think the immediate response was a lot of people saying, let's get some self-defense classes, but it's like after that, I don't think everything just kind of went back to what it was before, but it was just more of an immediate, but not over time. So I don't think it's affected crime or anything out here like that.
And I know that there's been a lot of events, one that you invited me to that I couldn't go to, in honor of Nabra, to sort of keep her legacy alive. What's sort of next on that realm? For those of you who, don't forget her and won't forget her, what What are you guys doing next to ensure that that legacy of hers remains?
I mean, we have a friend of ours, May, right? She actually started this coalition in which she'd gather, I guess, all the kids that knew her, both that lived here in Cedar Ridge and just around the area. And we'd actually, I guess, pack a whole bunch of, I guess, bags full of food or just hygienic products for the homeless people in DC. We actually went out, when was it, last spring?
Yeah, I think that around May.
Yeah, May, around May. But yeah, we went around DC that day and we just, set up shop pretty much and we distributed everything. And we hope to continue that this May as well, in the next coming May. But I feel like because her and most of us have been in school, it's been very difficult to do so. But it's something we're going to hold on to steadfastly.
And it happens every May?
Yeah, that's about the only thing that I would be able to think of as well.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we plan something outside of that. But to the people who are involved or in the people of this community, it's something that's never going to be forgotten. So it's always going to live on with us.
Mm-hmm. I know there was the hashtag E4N and everything for Nabra, and I remember your performance at the vigil. What sort of themes exist within that movement? I mean, when I talked to Giannis, he was like, I wasn't always a great student. After she died, I wanted to better myself, just like you were saying. Get better grades, do better in school, be a nicer son, etc. How about for you guys on a micro level?
I mean, I remember especially close to when it had happened. We had Brother Joshua from Native D, and he's actually the chaplain at Duke now. He gathered us all around one day. It was in the community center, and we were just going around remembering all the things that we remembered her by, and there was just so many, I guess, great characteristics that she had, from whether it was her being able to give a compliment to a person that no one could, to her giving her last dollar to someone even though she needed it, and it was such a long list of just different things that she would do for her friends and family, and I guess those characteristics just still are in my head, and it's like it's almost like that thing, like what would Jesus do? It's kind of like what would Nabra do, and that's just something that passes by my head a lot of the time when I find myself in a situation where I can ask myself that, and it's been very helpful lately. I feel like it's even improved my own character and demeanor. But I guess on but yeah, that's just how it is on that micro scale. But I guess even looking at a broader point of view, it's like, as Mo said, we just better ourselves every day, and we just live on for her. I guess that's just how it is. Everything for Nabra, that includes our lives as well, and we just continue to carry it out in the best way possible.
Yeah, it was for me personally, like immediately, it's like I definitely have to live life a lot more better, because you always the longer you live, you kind of tend to forget that your time is very limited. So seeing her lose her life at a very young age was like, that could have been me, that could have been anybody. I could go at any time, I can go tomorrow. So it really pushed me to accomplish what I had to do and really hop on the things that I have going on for myself personally. And I did tell, when I spoke to a lot of the kids, I told them, you can feel guilty about what happened if you want to, but her death is only going to go in vain if you don't live for the both of you all, and you don't live. I told them, I would tell them, it's not your fault, none of it's your fault, but if you want to go on living, because it's very hard. Personally, when I've been through something very traumatic, I'm really hard on myself and I really guilt myself. But I had a friend who overdosed on drugs before, and he came to me personally before he overdosed, and I didn't do enough for him. So I always give that example, especially when I was speaking about her, and I'd let them know, if you're going to, it's not your fault, but if you want to continue and live telling yourself that it was your fault, don't let her death go in vain, and live for the both of you, and get the both of you, because if she was here and she saw you were doing the best for yourself, that there would be nothing that would make her more happy than that. So I said, go out and live the best life that you can, because that's the only thing that would make her happy, and I'm sure you'd be happy for yourself as well, knowing that you're living for the both of you.
With Ramadan coming up, do you feel like people get, for lack of a better word, triggered is the right word, but does every Ramadan now remind people of what happened? I mean, that happened during the last 10 days. A time that's super, holy for people of Islam. Do you think that will always remind people now what happened to Nabra?
Definitely this community, yeah. I can't speak for everyone else, but I know for sure this community it does.
I mean, especially at our mosque, Adams, it was like last Ramadan, like just the amount of security, it increased like what, tenfold?
Yeah.
So it's there and it's pretty evident, which I mean I can understand, but at the same time it's like doing such things that kind of just kills the essence of it for us, especially as youth. And it's like kids don't want to have, I guess, like all these like volunteers over their heads every, I guess, 30 seconds and stuff when they're just trying to, I guess, get closer to the Lord. So I feel like that it's like they're coming from, I guess, a good with good intentions, but I guess the outcome of it isn't as good. But at the moment, it's kind of like the only thing they can do. I feel like, even though there's a lot of other ways to address the situation, but I mean, it's something that we hope to fix at Adams this coming summer, inshallah.
Inshallah. What do you think? What would you say to them? What to fix those issues that you brought up?
I mean, I feel like it's personally, it's a matter of, I guess, making sure those children are engaged, both, I guess, spiritually and, I mean, a lot, especially with young children, it's like they don't want to just kind of sit around and listen to a class all day or all night. In that case, so it's really just engaging them, not only, I guess, spiritually, but also just, in a way that, I guess, the youth and children want to be engaged. So it's really just giving them something to do, but something that also, I guess, increases their iman and connection with God. So it's actually interesting. Mo, I don't know if you're with us, but last Ramadan we actually had to pretty much do the whole like Adams Youth program during Ramadan.
I heard about it. Yeah, y'all were telling me about that.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Saif, he was pretty much like in charge of it now, and it was just us every night setting up ping pong tables and board games, and then just finding Qurans and stuff for the kids. And we'd pretty much be there from like 8 p.m. until 1 a.m. every day. And then it was all of us like leaving, and it's like, oh God, I work at 6 in the morning, but we got to do it for them. Otherwise, no one else will. So it's something that we just hope to continue and improve through the coming years, inshallah.
Do you have any questions that maybe I
No, I think you're...
Yeah. Anything else that you guys want to add?
No.
So do you want to be referred to as Mo Black or Muhammad?
Mo Black.
Mo Black, okay. And how old are you?
I'm gonna leave that out.
Okay. What about you? Are you 19?
Yeah.
Okay. You okay with me saying that? All right. And how long have you known Nabra?
Ever since we came out here, she was a lot more closer to my little sister. So around like 2011, 2012, when we were out here, and when we moved out here, and then she's just always been around.
About five-ish years then.
Yeah.
How did your sister react after everything that happened? If were they around the same age?
Yeah, they're the same age. Mm-hmm. So she's very she was very distraught about it. You know, even looking on my little sister's Instagram, you can still see Nabra's comments there and the positive things that she would say. So she really felt it, just as much as everyone felt it.
Yeah, remembering that time, it was really striking how many young people came out to support her, who really loved her from the school, her high school, and the Adams Center, and even in the follow-up stories, it's not every day you get like a teenage boy, like 17-year-old, to talk about his feelings. It just reminded me how viscerally she was cared for. What would you say to her family now, if you ran into them, Omar?
I mean, I guess the first thing I would say is that we've not, forgotten about Nabra, and we never will. As we continue to carry on our lives, we carry our lives for ourselves, but her as well, and for them too, her family. And that, even if that pain, doesn't seem to, leave your side at some point, it'll get easier, just as long as you, hold on, and just go on with life, without forgetting her. But you just continue on your life just with, I guess, your 100% every single day. And I guess the second that you give life, less than that, that's just when things will, I guess, fall apart almost. But I can't say they're not doing that. It's actually interesting. When I worked at the airport one day, they actually came in and they were going to Egypt. So it was really nice to see them.